And I will call the Budget Committee meeting of April 16th to order at 7:03 with a roll call, please.
Brandon Albert.
Brian Winslow.
Tom Chase.
Brett Hall.
Mike Jobin.
Betty Smith.
Grace Mattern.
Ted Wilkinson.
Stephen Mancini.
Mike Moore. Stephen Robinson.
Linda Smith.
Bob Young.
Dave Ruth, Selectman's Rep.
And Ginger Dole. So the first order of business, and Linda's going to be taking over at this point, is the election of chair and vice chair.
Okay.
I'd like to nominate Ginger Dole as chair.
I'm going to swing this microphone over so you can be here.
I will entertain a motion for nominations for chair.
I nominate Ginger Dole as chair.
Second. Are there any other nominations?
I move that nominations be closed.
All those in favor of nominating Ginger Dole as chair of the Budget Committee? Please raise your hand.
Oh, hands, okay.
Unanimous, one
Just a
abstention.
question.
One abstention.
Did we have to take care of the motion to close nominations first?
I'll withdraw the,
think you
mo-
should
I'll
do that.
withdraw the
I knew he
motion.
was going to withdraw.
Just to ignore that happened. It's been superseded. So
I just saw it, I saw it done recently, and I thought it was sort of a way to kind of move ahead.
Move the question.
So I will turn the nominations over to Ms. Dole for the vice chair.
All right.
Well done. Thank you, Ginger.
So, do we have nominations for vice chair?
I nominate Tom Chase.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have other nominations? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor of Tom Chase as vice chair, raise your hands, please.
Congratulations.
And we are
Congratulations.
unanimous with one abstention.
Thank you. Happy to be on board, Chairman Dole.
Boy, am I going to be No. I got to do it while I can. You remember, we have to...
That's
we
why I
put it on-
nominated him.
We put it on the calendar when we agreed, so, you know. Okay, so our first order of business is the review of the first quarter of the town. So I will turn it over
Do
to...
the minutes?
Actually, we probably should have done the minutes before we did the election of officers, but I didn't see it, so, yeah, we'll do the minutes. Do we have a motion on the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Did anybody have anything that they felt needed to be amended? Because they were pretty short and sweet. So for our new members, I'm sure you received copies of the minutes. It is true you were not here for those minutes, but we have in the past, if you wanted to say, yeah, I agree, feel free, or you can abstain, whichever you feel most comfortable with. Okay. So, seeing as how we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes and no one's brought anything up, all those in favor of approving the minutes as written, raise your hands. And do we have any opposed?
No, I'll abstain.
Any abstentions? One abstention. Okay, so minutes are approved. Okay, now we can go on to the town and put you on the hot seat.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Let me remind everybody: if you're supposed to go, if a meeting is called and you're not there, you get yourself volunteered to go on.
Yes.
Any of these other chairs. I happen to be on vacation. The first quarter, I got my budget, and it was dated 4/3 at the bottom, and I got that whatever it was in the package about a week and a half ago. Which is what I worked on. And tonight when I came in here, there's another budget that is dated 4/16 that I really haven't reviewed that much. I did it fast right now, so.
Mine's 4-1.
And that's because, I'm not sure about the rest of you, I received 4/1 initially, along with the agenda and the minutes, and then I got another copy that was dated 4/3, but it was every other page. And I really liked the one I got on 4.3 because the print was big enough that I could read it, even with my glasses.
Yeah, I just assumed it was the school, because it came with the school, I think.
Different package.
Maybe I got
mailed their
3
own.
packets?
School mailed their own, yeah.
Okay.
So in any event, we're
Now
gonna
I
use the
remember
one
too.
that's dated 4/1. If there are updates, then Dave can give us updates. But so that we're all on the same page.
If I've got 4.3 and we got 4.1,
Don't
I
worry
bet
about
that they
it.
were close enough.
Don't worry, but they'll
All
be
right.
close enough.
Explain that. It's simply that a set was sent out
Yeah.
with not double-sided.
Yeah.
We have them off the page. So
All right.
it's that.
I figured that's what it was.
All right.
But I think the numbers are the same.
And I would think that part of the confusion is we have a brand-new town administrator who's getting her feet wet, trying to get everything organized and get going. And we have a finance person who is out on sick leave. So things are a little mumble jumble to get things going. My review, and again, we didn't really discuss this at a selectmen's meeting, which I think we will in the future have it so that the selectmen will discuss this budget every single month, at least one session a month. But overlooking a lot of the things in the pages, almost everybody was, I would say it came out, at, for me, the average would be it's the first quarter that's, you've used 25% of your funds, and everybody was at, we got approximately 73% left after the first quarter, which to me seems to fall in line. Some things that get paid might be an insurance payment where you paid the whole thing at once and there'll be a zero. We ain't got any money left, but the bills are paid. The snow, as of actually this one that just came in, we've got 40% left in the snow budget. So that would throw figures off a little, but we're not gonna use it again until hopefully
Unless you
late
pray.
November, December, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, I know, I wanted to get a quarter-inch of snow last week when we were that allowed.
Actually, that's a pretty good percentage remaining.
Yeah.
Going into,
Yeah.
you know, the fall, the winter season, because we've had seasons where we've only had like 20% of the budget left,
Yeah.
and then early snowstorms.
No.
So-
And the town voted in the default budget, which brought us back to last year's budget. And the figure you have here on the last page, that's the default budget figure. That's the money we have to spend this year. It's approximately 140 to 150,000 less than what the original budget was. The town manager has let us know that she has talked to all department heads, even before all of the new selectmen had joined. The 2 selectmen that were left had started sitting down and talking with department heads to say, hey, we're back down, we gotta go right back down, this is our new budget, this is where we've gotta react from, this is what we've got to spend. There's one thing, a couple of things that happened that will throw off a little bit of expenses is we had some damage or some repairs had to be done to a fire truck that I don't think was planned, and it was over 10 grand. I'm gonna say it was 12 something, but final, and that doesn't show up in this budget. That came finished afterwards when this one came through. And we had some other work done on maintenance on the trucks for the plowing in the highway department. But I still think, and that was probably about 6 or 7, but so that's probably normal. I mean, after a winter, they gotta do repairs and things. So those, although they looked a little low when I first looked, then you realize what they spent, that should average out, not really be a problem. Library is another one that seemed, they're a little lower than 75%, but again, insurances, finance things that they do, won't affect anything, I don't believe. Snow, fire truck. Zoning board, which is a very small budget, their figure looks like it's a little low for right now, but again, that comes down to, I don't think there'll be a problem because they don't budget anyway for a lot of money overall. This year we have the new fire chief, and that money was all figured out as a EMT service and a former chief. We don't have the former chief's, that salary. So all of that came in, so the pay that he was supposed to get as of last fall, before even the vote, that's been balanced out, so we won't be over in that. Everybody else, the pay raises and everything will be frozen right now, whether or not we can figure out how to take care of the people who work here. Selectmen, the 5 selectmen, which would have been a completely different budget. We devised that budget, so we just, whatever the budget is, we just divided it out by 5 instead of 3 and figured out. The chair will make an extra 500 or 1,000 more than the other 4 selectmen. So again,
So you guys
that
took
was
a cut
done.
in pay.
Yeah, I didn't even get a pay before I had a cut.
That's true.
Well, you were just starting anyway.
Yeah. First years,
First year I should pay to be on.
yeah, that's it. You will pay, believe me.
Paying right now. Another thing that bugs me is the advertising where we lost the sun, which was a convenient way for us to all know what's going on in town, or at least to know what, we put out any ads for employees, or put out anything about the zoning or planning board, or elections. It was a convenient way, and it was fairly reasonable. Fortunately, I think the laws were written in like 1897 that you have to advertise and do all that legally in a newspaper. So Concord, Manchester, Portsmouth, Dover, Rochester, I mean, and they are about 3 times the price. Now, if we spent maybe 3,000 or 4,000 total for the year, that's going to be a little bit higher. So we'll have to figure that out. We again have to do it by the RSA that to
Right.
me was written a long time ago.
So you guys are looking to do the monitor.
Right now, I'd say the Monitor. I think everybody figured that might be the paper. I wondered if we actually do call it the paper of record, and we'd have to let everybody else in town know that if there's going to be, and what we're going to have to do is, in my mind, is say it's going to be in the first blank of every month, or the 4th day of every month, whatever, so people don't have to buy.
If they choose not to have a paper.
At least they'll know one day there are going to be legal notices. We'll have to figure that out. Yeah, but that's a minor thing, but still, it's one of those things that
You
drives
do it
me
every
crazy.
Wednesday, that's when the sun
Yeah.
came out.
Yeah, we're having those discussions, and it's on
Okay.
our agenda, I hope, for the next meeting, because I had asked for that. For the first month, I'd say right now, we still look like we're okay. I don't think, again, there's nothing big that I've seen. Some of those things that are in this new budget, they still, again, even though we've spent more money, they fall in at around 68%, which is, so 3 weeks later, 2 weeks later, we're still probably on track to be okay, unless anything major happens that we don't know about. I'm sure you guys probably have some questions. If I can't answer them, we'll take a list of questions, and we'll bring them up to the, with our new town administrator. So.
I'm curious, and
Chase.
you mentioned that
I'm going to interrupt you for 1 sec, Tom. Because minutes are going to be done off of the recording. If any of us want to speak, just say your name first, so that, and I'm drawing a blank on her name. Susan. So that Susan knows who's speaking, rather than just still trying to figure out
my voice.
our particular voices.
Tom Chase, Dave, you mentioned that the finance administrator's on sick leave. Is that paid sick leave? Do you
Yes,
know? And the second thing is, who's covering what she would have done?
we had to hire an outside person to,
And has that person been hired, and this was the work of the town administrator with other
town
people
administrator
pitching
plus
in?
plus a finance person that they hired from outside, approximately 2 days a week. To make sure the payrolls get done and to make sure bills get paid and get signed. And that would be, eventually we'll get a bills for that, so that's gonna be a bills for that.
Other questions? You mentioned some repairs to the fire truck. Do you have any more specifics, Dave, about which fire truck or what the repairs were?
No, I don't. I
Okay.
just happened to see a bill and it said it was like $12,000 and they told me that it had been out of service for about 3 months and they finally got it, so
Ah,
I don't know which one it is.
okay.
It wasn't, didn't dawn on me, I just knew it was the fire truck.
I have one last question, Tom Chase again, and that is, because you're operating out of the default budget, and because I'm on a couple of other committees, I heard from Linda that we should pay attention to our expenditures because you may need to find money over here or money over there to cover what was not accounted for well in the default budget. Are there any big items that you've discovered need to be either rethought or where money needs to be pulled from? Are we talking about 10,000 or more someplace? Or are you pretty well covered?
Yeah, there'll be, to hire a finance person from out to travel and everything, their rate is fit, to me, it's fairly high. And it would be public knowledge, it's probably about $65 an hour. That's just, I happened to be on the school board years ago, and that just seems to be a going rate for a professional person to come and travel from out. And I suppose if we took what was a person who works here and then added all the benefits and full-time benefits we give, it probably is still going to be higher than that. Right now, the trucks, I would think legal expenses, looking around and seeing what's going on, they could come in higher this year. I would think that the selectmen, I know we did it on the school board, you are always looking for ways to where can we spend money, and something comes up all the time that you had no clue that was going to happen. So you have to always seem to be adjusting. One thing the new members on the select boards have discussed is to start making sure this budget is done every month by the selectmen. I don't think it was done previous like that. They might have waited till every quarter or before they really look to see. So I think if we do it, or maybe it's every meeting, that we stay on top of it, especially this year. That's going to be my recommendation. That it's easier to take care of it more often than to wait, and then it's like, oh crap. Well, can I say that on the
You
mic?
can say that one, yeah.
Say, holy donut, we're going to have a problem all of a sudden, and then we're really chasing ourselves around. So I think due diligence of the selectmen this year should be really try to monitor this and make sure we stay on track.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Ted Wilkinson, just a general comment. Dave, I don't have any particular questions. It's early in the budget cycle, and I agree nothing looks out of line that can't be explained. I just want to say thank you for stepping up under fire, and I hope you continue as a selectman's rep on the budget committee, because you're good and you pay attention to detail. And
Well, I can be bribed, Ted. So. Yeah, that's medicine, though.
No, it isn't. It's throat soothers.
Thank you.
The only question that I've got for you, Dave, and it doesn't sound as though as yet the full board has discussed, gee, we might be a little trouble here. As an example, during the budget season, they had increased the amounts in the proposed operating budget for tipping fees and recycling stuff and, all that. And it's a, good 20, 25,000 there. Mm-hmm. Am I correct in understanding that as a full board, you haven't had the opportunity yet to discuss those specifics that, gee, this is going to cost us more, so we need to watch that? Or whatever.
As of right now, and I only missed the first meeting that was scheduled while I was away. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, is that is something that we have to really look at, because as I look through the bills, I see the same thing. Recycling, you never know, tipping fees. You don't know through the winter if there what it was. Mm-hmm. But we also, as some of the new selectmen on the board, part of the things is to make sure we bring back the recycling committee and bring back. A board member will be with them, and I think that's going to be Hal. I think it was his idea. Because there is a lot of, even if we can just save money, not that we're going to make money because we all know the stuff that you think is real valuable, we get, by the time you want to sell it, the prices drop down.
Right.
But just to keep it from keeping the expenses down low, maybe figuring a way, my understanding was that you're spending for a dumpster to go, it's full or not. The trucking fees seem to be what's really following us up, not so much the weight fee. But again, that's just my observation. So those are things we have to look at, or should look at.
So I was also looking at the warrant articles. Have you heard whether or not any action has been taken on buying the new town truck yet?
Nope, I heard nothing.
Okay. And I did ask you earlier, before the meeting started, if you had any knowledge of the transfers being made yet to the reserve funds the lagoon reserve funds, the cable reserve fund, all of that. And you were gonna check on that?
We'll check
as
on
well.
that, but I don't think all of it has been done as of
Yeah.
yet. But again, our first couple of meetings seem to be taking care of a lot of other things. They're trying to
Yeah.
make sure that the new budget is in place and everybody knows about it, so. But yeah, those are good questions that we'll have an answer for.
Any other questions regarding the town's operating budget? Oh, one other thing I would like to
You're over
mention.
your limit. It's only-
No, none of them I limit. They elected me chair, so none of them I. No, just if I could make a request that we get, with our future meetings, that we get a revenue sheet
Definitely, yes.
in addition to the financial statement.
Yes.
Terrific.
I brought that up at our last meeting, but again, I think with the confusion at our office,
Okay,
somebody didn't understand it should be in with the package.
then you're off the hot seat.
Where's Brian now?
Sir Brian.
Okay, so school board third quarter, we're looking at a pretty,
Does anybody have an extra copy of it? I did not get it, so Madam Chair, for the.
yeah, you
the
can look
school
at
board
mine.
know that, I'm the town representative, so that I'll get the package.
I've already, I'm familiar with it.
Thank you.
For information, the mailing address is town hall, so there may be one sitting in the plane.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, rather than
There's
going
nothing
to
in
your
my
home.
folder, well, unless they put it in, and then again.
I think I've got 2 copies.
There you go, I grabbed a pile of stuff tonight. Okay, thank you.
Ginger,
Yes,
if anybody else needs a copy, I seem to have 2 here.
you have 2. You're special.
I am, but
Yeah.
I don't like to waste trees either.
Looks like everybody has theirs.
I'll grab a copy, Betty.
Oh, you didn't get yours. Okay, good. Okay, Brian, you're on.
okay, great. So, to the new budget committee members, I'm the school board rep. So, we're looking at the printout, at least I'm looking at the printout from March 14th. And overall, we're showing a pretty serious surplus. We're having conversations in our next few meetings about potentially some surplus spending that we might be asked to consider, so that surplus will go down a little bit. As I look at it, I see kind of 3 categories. We had some hiring changes late in the school year last year that were not reflected in the budget. On the teacher salary lines were a little bit of a deficit, and then we're made up for those with the nurse and the librarian, I believe. So overall hiring, we ended up with a surplus with our new staff members. We're seeing a bit of surplus in special education. We've had some students no longer in special education programs that we had budgeted for, so there's a bit of, especially at the high school, there's a pretty big surplus there. And we're seeing a little bit of a surplus because we had done some surplus spending last year that at the end of the school year that's being reflected in this budget here. So, if there's any specific questions, I'd be happy to give it my best shot or find an answer for you if I can't come up with it tonight.
Brad?
Brad Hall, just more of a policy question. You bring up the surplus. Are you eligible to spend that surplus any place you want? Or do you have to, you can only spend what's in the budget approved, right?
Right. Any place you want, I think, is probably not.
That may be a bit over the top, but
Right.
can you spend on something that wasn't in the budget? A project of some kind?
Yeah, I believe we can.
Because it's a bottom line budget.
It's a bottom line budget.
Yeah.
The school board's asked the administrative team to put together a prioritized list. That's what we did in previous years as well. And then we'll have those discussions in the next few weeks, the next few meetings. So.
I think I have to wait for Ginger.
Yes, go ahead, Grace.
Grace Mattern. Is the 343, 147, is that the surplus figure on page 12 or 14?
That I think is for the elementary school. I think the bottom line figure is more in the 6,000.
Ooh, 606.
424.
Yeah.
What was the surplus last year? It was about half that?
I think it was about half that. Yeah. I don't know the number offhand, but
I didn't.
So you
Somewhere in this
anticipate there will be a significant amount of money that will go back to the town?
we anticipate that, yes.
If they don't spend it.
I don't think they'll spend it all.
Well, I mean,
Historically, they have.
last year we had about half of that size of surplus, as we just said, and we returned the majority of that to the towns.
Yeah, that's what I remember, that most of the you spent some of the surplus, but you sent more back than you spent.
By quite a bit, yeah. As I remember, I mean, I hate to throw numbers out when I don't remember, but it was like less than $50,000 in surplus spending, I believe. So,
And do you think something similar will happen again this year?
I can't say. We're waiting for suggestions from the administrative team, and it's a 5-member board, so
Yeah.
certainly come to the next couple of meetings, and we'll find out.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments? David?
Brian, well, out of the surplus, and maybe for Brad's question, is if you have a surplus like we now have the separated between the grammar, I still call it a grammar school, the elementary school, and the high school, whereas we're not looking to spend a surplus somewhere at the high school. We're really thinking of if we have some money that we can take out of line A and put it in line B to get something we need for the kids, that's authorized, that's okay. But it'd be more or less, we'd be taking money that you might be over in the surplus for the elementary school, and you might feel like you should be able to use some of that money to take care of some needs down there, but not necessarily that you're trying to spend the surplus from the high school. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Other questions?
Mike Moore, could you use some of that to maybe strengthen security that got voted down?
Yeah.
We potentially we could, yes.
Can you? I mean, that was voted, that was no means no, right?
In terms of general security compared to what was put before people in the warrant,
So security, but not a resource officer.
yeah, probably.
For sure.
Yeah, I would jump in for a second and say the resource officer was a definite no. So I would not see, I would be very much opposed to the school board if they decided to try and do a resource officer where no said no.
As I recall, the building improvements that they were talking about making was also a no, was it not?
It was,
So-
and I'm
So I'm kind of at a loss of
I
what kind of
think it could
security
be left up to
improvements
a
you might make.
legal opinion, because I don't know, did we get a whole lot of detail
No.
about what that security improvements was going to be? As I recall, we couldn't because it was
pretty-
security.
Yeah, it was vague.
So, I don't know if
Could I ask
legal would have a slightly differing opinion over something like that.
Bob Young, I'm
Well,
gonna put on my other hat, which was.
Put on your other hat, please.
A lot of what was done in that proposal, where we were getting $100,000 from the state, was to look at major changes in the building, construction of the foundations and so forth. Some of the areas in security that might be used is we've been looking at putting latches on the internal doors. And so that was not necessarily a part of that larger project. There was a larger project that had a good deal of architectural changes involved, but other things might still be possible because they were maintenance type of work.
Changes in door locks, maybe?
Door locks, cameras,
doors
but
or
you start moving
whatever.
walls around.
So.
Nah.
Other questions? This is good, we're asking questions.
I have a question for Linda. You seem to have an opinion about the legality of spending money on something that was voted down in a warrant article.
If it's for a specific item, then you can't.
Go get that item. Yeah, okay.
Like the
It's like a resource officer.
Right.
If the school had enough money, they wanted to hire somebody, they could not,
Got it.
because the voters said no.
Yep, okay.
And that was discussed actually at the police commission meeting at 5 o'clock tonight.
So if there was, whatever was in that packet that we couldn't see the whole thing around the security, you couldn't go do that. But as Bob said, you could maybe change some locks. Okay, that makes some sense to me.
For our new members going through your packet, I think you discovered the enrollment report. Just pointing out what was in the school's packet here. And this was something that we on the budget committee have traditionally requested for every one of our meetings. It gives particularly those of us that have had some history, some idea of what's coming up. Because we do pay high school tuition. So it gives us a sense of what the numbers are coming up and what the numbers are at Co-Brown or another public facility as opposed to a special ed placement. Just so we can get a feel of what's going on.
If I could expand on that, Tom Chase, the reason that's important is that Co-Brown, I think, literally bills us by the days of attendance of our students there.
Correct.
Which seems pretty nickel and dime, but it adds up. But the assumption is, if a kid's attending Co-Brown, he counts, she counts towards that figure, which last year, if I'm not mistaken, was in the neighborhood of $15,000 per student. Little up, and another 50% for special ed. So that when you look at the enrollment figures for this year's 8th grade, that is 36 kids in district and 4 homeschoolers, and you know that typically 2 of those 4 homeschoolers will decide to go to Co-Brown, I'm guessing, and that in addition to the 36 kids who will enroll miraculously, there will probably be another 2 to 4 to several kids whose parents decide to buy a house in Northwood so their kids can go to Co-Brown. But still, you look at, say, the 36 and 4 and compare that to the 68 who are graduating out, and you see some savings. Keep your fingers crossed.
One of the other forms that we got was the special ed placement. You'll notice that there are no names on it, and that's for confidentiality purposes. But it does let us know if they're elementary students or high school students, and the facilities that are providing the educational programming for those students and what their costs are. And as you can see, the FYI 19 actuals are quite a bit lower than they were previously. And I can tell you, having been involved with the budget committee for 25 plus years, I remember years where it was close to $1 million for special ed, in addition to everything else. So we have excellent SAU staff, in my opinion, who have been able to be very creative and still providing everything that the students need at a much more palatable cost, shall we say. So just wanted to point out these papers because you will be receiving these with every packet while you're on the budget committee. So you can compare them and get a fuller picture of what's going on.
Steve Robinson?
Stephen, yes.
Yes. Is there any way we can get, like, being new members, can we get like a prior budget committee packet so we can compare? All I have is just one. I don't
Sure.
have anything to compare to.
I will work
You know
on
what I mean?
that.
As far as getting some kind of gist of how things work.
So you can see some of
Yeah,
the differences and
correct.
that kind of thing? Yeah, let me,
Are there any books left down there?
Yeah,
that would have it?
well, I don't know, but there's these handouts that have the end of the year
Okay.
totals. And
oh, good.
There used to be some
I
stuff.
think I'll grab another one. Plus we're outside too.
So, Grace,
Grace Mattern, yeah, last year was my first year, and I felt like I had a lot of questions that I encourage new members to ask questions. And
Absolutely.
I probably could have asked some questions sooner than I did. It's like, I didn't, because I've dealt with a lot of financial reports in my life, but I've never seen financial reports just based on the day it's printed, and it's down here. I was like, well, what are these, so anyway. In case you haven't noticed yet, it's as of the day down there.
Right.
Not standard in
So-
financial reports.
Exactly. And in fact, if any of our new members, if you want to stay after the meeting is officially over, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you might have or fill you in on different things that we might not be going over during, for that matter, anybody can stay.
And there is
You can
training.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sorry?
There is training.
There is training, and in fact, our training budget got cut a little bit, not a heck of a lot, and Linda and Betsy and I last year were working on trying to get someone from the state to come in and hold a tutorial for us, as well as, and we were going to invite a couple of other towns as well, to, so that it would be worthwhile for an individual to come out. And we were looking to do that in the fall before the budget season started, and discovered that that's their busy season and they had no one available. So I think we're going to start checking into that in the near future and see if we can't get somebody out when it's not their busy season to just answer a lot of questions. We did have someone come out several years ago when we switched from the normal town meeting and school district meeting to SB2, and all of the changes that involved with the deliberative sessions versus this, and default budgets, and all that kind of stuff. And we haven't had anybody since, and I think we're overdue. There's also, in the fall, there are budget sessions that the state puts on that I try to go to at least every other year, and somebody from town hall generally goes as well, so that we have somebody from the town who goes each year to get any updates on changes in RSAs that the state legislator might have done, which last year they made quite a few, which really stymied us. So, so that being said, if anybody wants to talk afterwards, feel free. Linda?
Madam Chair, the other option is we can make copies of the last book that was put out by NHMA. If
That's
those
right.
folks are interested, we'll make copies.
Okay.
They have given us permission. I called to make sure that they didn't, they said
Give
if,
you my copy, so.
as long as it was the town.
I got it.
Yeah, he got it because I got my own. So would anybody be, how many would be interested in having copies of that?
What was the copy of it?
This is the copy. Do I have mine with me? Wait a minute. I might have kept it in my bag.
Tom and I went, we went last year.
No, I got the town report in here instead.
It's about the same size.
It's about the same size as the town report, but it's the law of budgeting for whichever particular year. And I've got the 2018 at home. And it's about that same thing, but it goes through step by step what SB2 is and how you can do things and what no means no is, and it actually shows pictures of the slides that they put up on the projector if you happen to go to the meeting, which they usually have at a very nice restaurant like the Puritan or someplace like that. Good food. But you're there with other towns as well. So, and every town's members that are there, whether they be budget committee, selectmen, moderators, whatever, you can submit questions and they'll read. There are different specialists. There are those that specialize in the law, the RSA, and then those that are budget experts, and those that are this kind of. And they'll take your questions and they'll answer them. And it's a back and forth through the whole meeting. So it's really good to attend. We do have some money in our budget for that come September. But as I said earlier, I'm really hoping that we can get somebody to come out and get a personal one.
Yeah, you're going to be pursuing that?
We are going to be pursuing that, yes. to see if we can get somebody out here. My guess is, unless it's just us, it won't be here. We'll borrow the school's gym or
Right.
something, you know.
My
We have a lot of
experience,
space.
Tom Chase, as I recall attending that with Dave, was that there are questions that have to do with cities, and there are questions that have to do with large towns, and there are questions that have to do with us.
Right.
And it's, while the expertise is there to answer those questions, to have a group of us relatively small towns from northwest Rockingham County would be, to me, preferable than sitting in a room with people asking questions from Nashua.
True.
So, good luck.
We're gonna try. We're gonna try. The final piece, oh, did I get a count? Who would like a copy of that budgeting thing? Pretty much everybody. I have mine. Okay. We'll work on that. It won't be next week, but, but we will work on that.
We'll meet next week, so.
We can run those.
Yeah. The final piece that you got in your school packet is the school's audit for the year ending June 30, 2018. And it is much later than we have seen it in past years long ago. However, I hear tell that it's going to be much earlier this year because of some changes that, I'm jumping in on your thunder here, Brian.
Yeah, go for it.
That the school board and the SAU and what have you have instituted. So I've looked through this, and there's a lot of numbers. And even having been a school board member many, many years ago, I can't make heads or tails of this. But there was an overall opinion. Would you like to tell them that, Brian?
You can keep going.
I can keep going,
You're doing
geez,
great.
thanks. That's what you get for going to a school board meeting. Basically, the school got a completely clean record. They got the highest rating, so to speak, that is possible to get as far as their accounting principles and practices and that kind of thing go. So there was nothing specific or outrageous that they needed to change the way that they were doing things. Got a clean bill of health, in other words.
They couldn't find anything?
I think one of
They always look for something.
I think one of the recommendations that the SAU level is going to adopt, not obviously this is for the Northwood School, but we're part of the SAU that also was audited, was just having a faster turnaround on their fund balance to create a policy so that it's not carrying over as long. And that's going to help them to clean up the financials there, as well as being able to keep that fund balance lower. They've improved their cash flow at the SAU level, and I think that's going to carry down to the Northwood School as well. But that was, other than that, it was an auditor giving a report, and it was not very memorable, but things are in pretty good shape, so.
Congratulations.
Question for Brian, I don't know what it means. The second page of the letter from Plodzik and Sanderson up top, other matters, management's discussion and analysis. That paragraph says management has omitted a management discussion, and it goes on to say why that's a major omission, and that generally accepted accounting principles require that it be done. So who are they referring to here as management? Does that mean the school board? Is that the SAU? Who is management?
My understanding, and forgive me, I could be wrong, but my understanding is management at the auditing firm, Plodzik and Sanderson. But again, I could be wrong about that.
That's how I read it.
I'm going to interrupt 1 second. Did everybody sign? This is for the budget handbook. You have one, right? Okay, so we'll just give this to Linda, please. Okay, any other questions for the school? No? Okay, in that case, we'll end the school and now internal business. So, a couple of things first. Budget committee does have procedures.
That's a serious one.
There you go. Get these passed around.
That may be a perfectly good
So
explanation.
once you get these, you'll
Posing a question.
notice that there are 6 different categories, so to speak, and these have been revised a number of times over the years. From 2003, the last time we revised them, we had a subcommittee 3 years ago that revised these. So when in doubt, this is what we do. So as you can see, responsibilities of individual committee members, review all of the material prior to the meetings, and this is really it sounds so simple, but it's really a big thing. In past years, we have had members that have opened up their packets, not you, because you're fine, at the meeting. They've not looked through anything, and how can you be prepared to participate in the process if you haven't reviewed everything? You know, you haven't looked at the minutes to see if your name was spelled correctly. We've actually had members that have realized that Tom's name was spelled incorrectly, or vice versa. So you want to be able to review those. If you've got questions, questions are good. Don't be afraid to ask them, because it may be something that someone else is saying, well, geez, I don't know if I should ask that or not. Ask the question. It's public information. We need to be able to understand what the finances are for the town and the school, because our responsibility under RSA is to prepare budgets to present for the townspeople to vote on. That's our job. And in order for us to do that job come December and January, we have to know how it goes through the year. So well, it might seem like quarterly meetings really, you know, it is of benefit to be up to date as much as possible on what's going on. If you can't attend a meeting, you do need to contact either Linda or myself. Otherwise, you're not excused. Just because you don't show up at a meeting, if you haven't called anybody, you're unexcused. By RSA, you miss 4 meetings in a row and you're off the committee. So, because we need you here. We have to have a quorum. And if enough people don't show up, we don't have a quorum, and then we can't have a meeting. If you do happen to be absent, try and let us know when we can meet up with you. That's not our fire alarm, is it?
No.
Okay. It doesn't sound like a phone. Yeah, it's not mine either.
Are you hearing that? Is that your stuff?
I can't hear it with this. You can hear everything. Baby Robbins is being born.
No, it's too early. They're still making their nests. At least at my house they are. We just wanted to be sure it wasn't a strange smoke detector or whatever. So, yeah, any materials that, because sometimes we get updates here in packets, not just through the mail. So you want to be sure to check with either Linda or myself or one of the other committee members if you happen to live close by or whatever. Did you get anything else at the meeting so that you can get your copies so that you stay up to date? everybody here has been really good. If I don't happen to see you, pound on the table or something when you want to ask a question, because I try to keep looking around, but sometimes I miss something. So we're in school. Raise your hand so I can see you. Members should abstain from voting when a conflict of interest exists. This is something that we've gone back and forth with over the years. When a member abstains due to a conflict of interest, member is to remove him or herself from the table. Motion to reconsider can be made by any eligible member of the committee who voted on the prevailing side, and that's pretty normal. That's part of Robert's rules. The second to motion for reconsideration may be made by any member of the committee, doesn't have to be the prevailing side. If after voting the motion to reconsider prevails by 2/3 majority, reconsideration takes place. If not passed by 2/3, the motion's dead and we move on. We've never actually enforced moving yourself away from the table. In meetings past, because some of us wear several hats and we're on several different committees, and we might collect a stipend or this or that or whatever from being involved in those other committees. So when we review those sections in the operating budget in December and January, when we're preparing our budgets, those individuals would not vote. That includes if your spouse or someone in your household works for the town or the school, and their income is part of your household income. You would not vote on those sections. You can vote on everything else, just you're abstaining, you're not voting on those sections. As I started to say, we've never really enforced get up from the table and walk away. We sort of left it with the honor system. You know if there's something, at the moment, I do the school board minutes for the school board meetings. If I'm still in that capacity come the next budget season, just as I did this past season, I don't vote on the section that carries where I get paid. I gotta talk to them about a raise too, I think. Yeah. Oh, I'm getting the no from the chair down there. You don't say anything, right? So just so you're aware, I like to go over this before we get to the situation, and then it comes as a surprise. Order of the meetings, the biggest thing is we need to have a quorum. So as much as possible, we need everybody here. And I won't be as long-winded at any other meeting as I am tonight, I promise. Otherwise, we'd have been out of here a half hour ago, so. I'm assuming that while I've been talking, I've noticed that several of you have been reading through. Are there any questions on any of these items that you've noticed thus far that we can address? Yes, Mr. Root.
What constitutes, Dave Root, what constitutes a quorum?
50% plus one. And right at the moment we will have 17 when we fill the vacancy.
So 17 is the number?
No, 17 is our total.
No, 17
So we
is the
need
number on the
9
budget committee.
17 sitting on the budget committee in various capacities, yeah.
So it's 50% of that.
50% plus one.
8.5, so 9.
So we need 9 people.
9.5.
No, we need 9 here.
Why don't we need 10?
That's right. I was gonna raise that, point of order.
Wouldn't you round up?
No.
Okay, whatever you say, you're the chair.
9 and 9 is 18. That's 50%.
Yeah, but then
But we have
need plus
17
one.
members.
But don't we have to have half plus one?
Well, basically, it's half plus one. You can't have just half here.
I've heard,
I'll accept your ruling.
When we had 16 members, until we got the additional, and Erica's in here tonight, we got the additional, not Cove Way, because
Village
that's
District.
bad. I'm sorry?
Village district.
Thank you, the Village District. We had 16, and we needed to have 9 for the meeting.
Okay.
We'll go 10 if the committee would
No,
like.
no.
Keep in mind, you need to be at least one of those 10 to show up if we do that.
I think 9's fine.
That was a very quick answer, Grace.
9 is enough.
Some nights
6
I'm
is
only
not
half
bad.
anyway.
9 is enough. Who else is, Eric is not here and Dan.
Eric is not here and Dan is
Dan
not
is not
here,
here.
and we have one opening.
All right.
That's why. So, I know, I had to go back over it again and figure, because, yeah, we got 16, oh yeah, we got 17 now. Because last fall, we had 3 spots open, which is why we didn't have to have that many here. So if you have any other questions on our procedures, think about it. We can bring them up at the next meeting if you like. If you know something now and you'd like to address it, we can do that. Don't be shy. Grace,
Are there ever subcommittees of the budget committee?
I'm sorry?
Are there ever subcommittees of the budget committee? There
The
weren't any
only-
last year.
The only time in the past that I recall that we've had a subcommittee was back before the MS forms that needed to be completed. After we got done with our work, those were done by hand as opposed to plugging the numbers into the computerized program and being sent electronically. Then we would have we did have subcommittees to review the numbers and make sure that everything jived, because Dan McNally, Betsy, and I were usually the only volunteers for that, so. But
We
now
also-
we don't have to do that.
I think we, as a subcommittee, you, me, and Betsy actually reviewed the procedures.
No, actually, there were 4 of us, and Bunny was involved as well.
Right. Well, there you are.
Because Bunny did all of the proofreading to make sure the i's were dotted, the t's were crossed, and the language was grammatically correct, because that's her thing. So, you had a question?
Yeah,
Sorry.
Brandon Albert, where do we get contact information? Like contact, and then for you for attendance, I know where we can find Linda's information. But.
Okay, I will give you my cell phone number and my email address. We do keep phone numbers and email addresses of members at large private. So if Grace wants to give Tom her email address and her phone number, that's fine. But as a committee as a whole, we don't. But you do need to be able to get a hold of the chair. You do know how to reach Linda at Town Hall. The only number you're going to reach me at, 603, 608.
Oh, on TV.
I'll give it to you afterwards. Everybody has a 608 number. If you used to have, what did we have? Nextels back in the day. Yes, thank you. I'll give it to you after the meeting. When he shuts down, I'll give it to you. Other questions? Yes, no? Okay.
Ginger, could I add, just.
Oh, no, go ahead, Stephen.
Steve Robinson, the open seat for the budget committee, how's that gonna be filled? How's the procedure?
Okay, we can jump into that now. Typically, what we have done in the past when we've had an opening is that we've put out notice that we have an opening. And that position would be filled from the date that the committee votes to appoint Mary, whatever, until the next election. So at the moment, there is quote unquote a 3-year spot available. However, the person that the committee ultimately votes to take that spot will serve from that time until March elections. That's per RSA. So then we would have a 2-year spot in addition to whatever else we have at that time. What we've always done in the past is anyone who was interested in serving on the budget committee, the committee has asked that they write a letter. Why do you want to be on the budget committee? What experiences can you bring to the table do you feel would be of benefit? You know, we've had some responses in past years while I was on the budget committee in the town I used to live in. Or I'm an accountant. Or I'm new to town and I want to get involved and help my community. And those are all very valid reasons, and I'm sure there's hundreds of others. The committee then will review those letters. Me personally, I love it when the person comes to that meeting that we're going to be addressing the issue, so that we can talk to them. We can match a name with a face. Ask questions if we have any. And then at that point, the committee will vote on who, assuming that there's more than one, is going to fill that spot. So that's typically how we handle it.
The only question is,
Yes.
how are you gonna get it out there?
I think it's already out there. My understanding is that there are now up to 3 individuals who are interested or have an interest in filling the spot. What we used to do in the past, and what we did last fall, last summer, I think we did it last spring too, didn't we? Putting ads in the Sun saying that there were, along with other positions in town that were on planning board and ZBA and whatever, and we got no takers. Nobody came forward. I was amazed at how many write-ins we different individuals for write-ins for this past March election. As somebody who was counting those, I was flabbergasted. But that's good, because we've got some new people, and we need new people, you know? Some of us are getting a little long in the tooth here. So, I'm speaking for me, I'm not speaking for anybody
I'd like
else.
to ask Tom Chase, have we actually received letters from any of these people, Linda, or are we just, is it rumored?
Actually, the gentleman in the audience has submitted a letter. I suggested he can't come to the meeting. I wasn't sure at that point how many people may come forward to express interest. I've had 2 others also express interest.
What does that mean? I mean, did they send in letters or just say, I might be interested?
No, I had a phone conversation with one and an email saying he would have come tonight, but he had a conflict, was not able to come to the meeting. And the third person is a former Budget Committee member, Ms. Colburn, who expressed an interest to come back on.
So in view of the fact that we have a multitude of gifts here, I felt that it was, I don't want to use the word fair. We have at least three individuals who are interested in filling that spot. And I felt that we should receive letters from all of them. They can come to our next meeting, which we have to set a date before we leave tonight, and discuss, and then we can make our determinations at that time. It's an unusual position to be in.
Will
Right.
we vote?
Yes, we vote. Yes, we vote.
Secret vote?
That's what we have done in the past. We have actually, when we've had more than one individual, everybody gets a piece of paper and everybody writes a name, and he who gets the most votes wins.
Well, we can't do it that way anymore. Remember
For appointments, we can't?
No,
How do we
it
do it?
has to be open session. No paper. No secret votes.
Oh, my goodness. Stephen?
Steve Robinson, why can't we just accept all 3? Is there a particular
Because there
reason
isn't space for all three.
why? Not space for all 3.
No.
Okay, I just didn't know.
At the moment, we have 12 members at large that are elected by the town, 4 for 3-year terms, and those are staggered. We have the selectmen's rep, the school board rep, and then we have a representative for the 3 districts that we have in town, the Water District, Cove Way, and Village, and Gulf, and the Gulf Village. So you can't have 50 members or 40 members or even 20 members. In fact, I was seriously considering, and I think we did discuss it very lightly at one of our last budget committee meetings about, now keep in mind, we have 3 members that are not here. 2 that are excused for this evening, which I did not get into the minutes. I'm sorry, Linda.
That's all right, I have it.
You have it? Okay. Dan McNally and Eric Buckland both called in and indicated that they were not going to be able to be here this evening. So we need to fit 3 more people around this table. And we have suggested to the selectmen last year that we need more chairs. Sorry, you weren't on the select board then.
More chairs or?
We'll have to get folding chairs, render
Oh, more
default.
chairs to sit
To
on.
sit on here.
Did you ever ask them how would they cut down the amount of people, the 12?
And that was what I was considering, that we have a warrant article that would take effect the year following, not the year that it was voted on, to reduce the number of at-large from 12 to 9. And I got very mixed results from members of the budget committee on that.
Yeah.
There were several who said, well, we'll have a place to sit then, won't we? And then there were others who said, but we're going to be outgunned by all the private things, you know, the 3 districts, the like, so.
You can
Right.
rotate.
You could rotate.
One seat and the 3 districts could rotate.
It's,
I'll volunteer not to come.
Denied.
You're stuck.
Denied, you're stuck. Yes.
So so the process for one of the individuals is here now, is that we're gonna have a letter written and then have them attend the next meeting? Is that what we-
Ideally, yes, that's what we've done in the past, and I'm leaving it up to the committee. How do you feel about that?
We have 3 open seats.
No, we have 1 open seat, we have 3 individuals who have expressed interest. I want to be fair to everybody.
Does anybody know why there's so much interest?
there's a rumors that says that there's money in it.
There's a lot of money in it.
Is
Well,
there-
you
is there
don't
not?
get any of it.
It's just none's going in me.
Anyway, I
That's,
would,
you know, interesting.
It ebbs and flows over the years, I've found. You know, some years we're out there begging people to come in and sit on the budget committee.
ask the new members.
I'll speak on behalf of my, being in town for 13 years, I built my house 13 years ago. But my wife's family's been up here since the 50s, and I just found it was time to step up. What really got me interested in it was the safety complex. That really piqued my interest, and I came to my first selectmen's meeting, Western's night, and I got involved, and I really liked it. And I said, no, it's time for me to step up, and I'm nervous as heck, I'll admit it, you know, but I feel very welcome at the same time, and I'm looking forward to it, but I said, it's just time for me to step forward. It's time. It's time.
Thank you,
Yeah, thank you.
because we don't often see a lot of that. Okay, you're up. How come? This is where I put you
positive
on
peer
the
pressure.
spot. No, I'm because we were begging for people in this past summer and fall.
And if I could get in a little ad here, while we're on the high side of the wave of interest, we are in desperate need of a member and alternates on our zoning board. If anyone knows anyone who's interested in serving in that capacity, please send a letter of interest.
And if memory serves me, being on the budget committee does not preclude you from
No, it does not.
serving on the
Not on a
ZBA.
land use board, no.
Okay, so if you have some extra time, and
We don't have a full board and haven't had one for over a year.
How often does it meet?
Once a month.
one night a month, folks, that's all you have to give up. It's one night a month.
That's the bridge in Brooklyn to sell.
All will use them.
My
Yes,
question
Stephen.
was, Steve Robinson, if we do have the 3 members that potentially want to be on the board, like this gentleman right here, say he didn't get voted in, could he shadow my side or vice versa? You know what I'm saying?
Everyone is welcome to come to budget committee meetings, just as the 2 gentlemen that are here tonight are.
You just don't have a vote in the say, but he can sit.
Correct.
and
Cannot
watch.
ask any questions. It's because our meetings, unless we're having the public hearings, which we do after we prepare the budget, and those are done usually in January because of the time frames that we have. The public cannot ask questions to have the back and forth. But there is benefit in coming to listen to a selectmen's meeting. Yeah, there's no public comment on a budget committee meeting, the way there is selectmen or school board. but you're hearing what's going on. You're understanding the process. You're, believe it or not, going to a planning board meeting or a ZBA meeting is quite an education. And I have been to several in various capacities, and it really is interesting. But I've already got 5 nights a month that I'm out of the house, so take me off the list. I can't do it. Tom?
I would approve of the suggestion that we consider the letters and the people who are interested. I would suggest, Linda, if you haven't already, say to these people who express interest, or any of you who talk to somebody who expresses interest in joining this group, that they write a letter to Linda expressing their interest and any other information about why and their qualifications. And then they come next time. When's next time?
We haven't, I didn't even have a chance to discuss that with Linda yet. Particularly if the selectmen are now going to do basically the same thing that the school board does and review their financial statement once a month. Well, the town has always been very willing to, it is a statement of accounts, what has been spent so far. And the school board knows that I have disagreed with them on their philosophy on this for several years, so this doesn't come as any great surprise to anybody. The need for the particular board or committee to review it before it can be sent out to the budget committee doesn't seem to me to be a necessity. But that's the way they want to do things. So that being said, we need to have our meetings near the end of a month, because the school board does their financial statement the third Thursday of the month. I don't know yet when
We haven't set a date.
when the selectmen
It makes
will.
sense to be the second meeting normally.
But the next quarter ends June 30th. That's also the end of year for the school. I would not anticipate that they will have all of their figures and reviewed and that type of thing until closer to the end of July. I would be looking for a meeting sometime early to mid-August.
Thank you.
What does, I'm open to suggestions.
That's fine.
Does that sound reasonable to?
Throw some dates out, and I'm sure.
Bob?
My question would be, in terms of the vacancy, would we be voting on the vacancy at that meeting?
Yes.
Or would there be plans to fill that vacancy prior to that meeting?
It's only one, I wouldn't think we could do it that night.
Good question. So, how does the committee feel about this? Do you want to pop another meeting in between now and then for the sole purpose? We could also review the minutes from tonight at the same time. For the sole purpose of determining who will fill that spot, so that that individual can be sworn in and ready to go for an August meeting? Or do you want to tackle that along with end of year, second quarter of the town, and anything else that we might have come up?
I think, my opinion, Brendan Alvarez, for the sole purpose of getting somebody in here and ready to go for that next meeting and that important meeting, I think we could all come together for a brief meeting.
Yeah, I agree.
It would be a brief meeting.
Yeah.
Mr.
Or
Ruth?
could we have a subcommittee?
No, me personally, I would rather not have something like that. The subcommittee was simply that we've had in the past, and the only one I recall we've ever had in the past. Linda might have a better memory,
The
was,
subcommittee could not, and they could only
RSA
recommend.
3215, Roman numeral 7.
They can only recommend to the full committee.
So we all would have to meet anyway to appoint.
Yes.
Correct.
Or to elect.
Correct.
I think it would get
Exactly.
tricky if you gave.
yeah,
them
I would
to the
not,
subcommittee.
I would not feel comfortable with having a subcommittee, even making a recommendation. I think each,
Subcommittees were mentioned, so I just threw it
Right.
out. to say
Yeah.
What,
That's a good idea.
yeah. Brendan?
Are we requiring a letter and attendance, or requiring a letter? What are the expectations?
In the
We may get
past-
more than.
Well, in the past, we have always requested a letter and strongly urged the individual to be here at the meeting the evening that the position was, that the vacancy was going to be discussed and hopefully filled. So that if there were any questions, or if the individual wanted to make a statement to us, wanted to tell us something about themselves, or maybe they forgot something in their letter of interest that they really want us to know about. If they're here, then they can tell us. Mr. Ruth?
In the past, my feeling about the letters are, they don't have to be too formal, but
Nope.
they don't have to be too long.
Right.
They're more or less saying, hey, I can contribute to the budget committee, I'd like to be a member, I know there's a vacancy. As far as qualifications, none of us, or anybody that's been elected, is really not a hit. I don't know of any qualifications you need.
You're breathing.
Yeah, so, that's all. And that sometimes would scare people away.
Yeah.
That,
It-
"Oh, I
yeah,
gotta
it's
write
not
this
a
big
resume.
one." It's not like you're going for thing.
Yeah.
I guess I'd like some clarity, maybe from Linda, about how the vote would occur. Having in the past, it was a situation of where when you had more than one person, you'd have a ballot and you'd check the ballot.
Right.
And then we'd do the counting. I would be a little concerned in terms of how you handle 3 people as a
Agreed.
vote. And I'm just curious as how
Well,
that,
I think how it would work is the committee would give an opportunity for those 3 people to speak.
yes.
Close that off, and then the chair would open nominations. If there were separate nominations, you would have to say whatever was, I'm guessing whoever was first, and get a vote, and that's going to be tough.
Okay, so I have a question.
Well, you can't.
Why
do it
can't we
in
go
secret.
into non-public?
Well, I think.
We
Oh, no,
could.
you can't go into non-public.
Can
There's
we-
no reason to.
Can we
You could
ask?
do I think you could probably do a ballot vote as long as you were open about it,
And then after the ballot vote, take a vote on that
Red.
person.
Read the results?
read the results.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
What we
you'd have to
used
read the
do-
results.
Well, what we used to do was only say, John Smith won. And-
How long ago was that?
Oh, yes.
Well, the one time that I got
That was-
appointed versus being
We used
elected,
to do that for the chair and the vice chair.
we did do that for the
We
chair
had
and
this
vice
little
chair,
piece of
right?
paper out, and they were kind of, nobody looked at them other than,
Yes, and Linda would be over there and she's very counting and putting in piles and whatever.
So we have the names, sorry, Brandon Albert,
we'll
have the
check into
names.
that and get an understanding of the best way to do it. Good
Well,
question.
Have the names on the piece of paper, and then we'll go through and go around and reading, tally them up. And we've all said who we're supporting, it's not
Yeah.
a secret.
Well, no, I think what she's referring to is if we have 3 people, that person A got 4 votes and person B got 7 votes and person C got, I don't even know what my numbers are. You know what I'm saying? So that, okay, so person C got 1 more vote than everybody else, so person C, you are,
Right.
But
we
then they
have-
won't have Mr. Albert voted for person C. It'll just be just the numbers, none
just,
attached to
the
the.
right.
Yes.
So do you have to go through the nomination process?
Can I speak to that?
Mr. Chase?
If you want this process to be somewhat like what happens in a regular election, then people put their names on the ballot, or in some cases, like Mr. Albert, I think, let it be known to his friends and constituents that he was interested in being on the Budget Committee, in which case then the person is putting their own name into nomination. So if there are 3 people who want to be considered for the Budget Committee, then they would nominate themselves by virtue of a letter. And then, if they're hopefully able to attend, we would ask them, what, in addition to your letter, would you like to say about yourself? And then we would have a vote among ourselves, because we are, in a sense, taking the place of the electors, the town voters. And in that case, town votes are cast in secret,
But this is different.
but this
And
is,
the
but this is,
results are
but the,
And I have been informed it must be an open vote.
now,
Not a secret vote.
explain to me what you understand an open vote to be. In other words, if we said person A, raise your hand, would, vote for person A.
That's what I was told it had to be at a workshop.
Let's get that
So
clarified.
I will clarify that.
Yeah, because that's,
Yeah, I will.
I mean, that to a certain extent is how we just chose our officers, where names were put in nomination and the people expressed their approval, disapproval, abstention, so. But I would like clarification of what they mean by a public vote.
I think what they mean is that, my understanding was that Tom Chase, his vote could not be hidden from the public, because you're representing the public.
Okay.
So how you vote has to be,
let's get that clarified, because
we will.
that can,
and
that's,
Mr. Young is involved. in
that's like going into the polls and you coming out and saying, yep, I'm gonna give Bob my vote for president, and this is who I voted for, and nobody has the right to know who I voted for.
Yeah, but that's right, as an individual, but you are representing the public here. You are not representing Ginger Dole.
Right,
Okay,
I get that.
makes sense. All right, so we'll work on getting that clarified,
Okay.
how we're gonna do it. Let's work on a date,
2 dates.
2 dates. So, oh boy. How soon do we
How long
want to
does
do
it
that?
take to get the minutes of this
If
meeting?
it helps, last year's was August 8th.
That does help. And August
to my notes.
8th is a
Thursday.
Thursday.
That's not good. It's
No,
the
school
second
board meeting
Thursday.
would be the 1st of August,
First of
Yeah.
all.
1st and 3rd.
So 8th would be fine, wouldn't,
It wouldn't interfere with the school board.
or wouldn't selectmen on, only on Tuesdays?
They're on
Conservation
Well, I think
Commission
it
meets
might
on
have been a
Tuesday.
Planning
Because
board.
it was
The
a
6th.
different, it was a Wednesday, not a Thursday.
That could
So
be.
what's the 9th? Is that a Wednesday?
Well, no,
It's a
the 9th
Friday.
is a
Or
Friday.
Friday.
So we've got the 7th, the 14th. It's sort of like, when can we have the hall as well? Because we're too big a group to be able to meet anywhere else, so.
Flight night at John's, that's all.
You'll be
Oh,
ready.
stop
Well, you
it.
go there after, not before.
You'll be ready to be considered.
We'll get
with
you in the
your
mood to go and watch
final-
Fight
Now,
Night.
there's
How's that?
Here's an incentive, whoever gets voted on the board has to buy.
There you go. Oh, my word.
Second
For
that.
non-August
Linda,
7th
who
is my
typically meets on
anniversary,
Wednesdays?
Okay, well,
And here, I don't think anybody
No.
doesn't have the big hall.
All right, so if we go for either the 7th or the 14th,
I go for the 14th personally.
14th?
Personally.
Anybody have a conflict with the 14th?
I have a conflict with both.
Which is a Wednesday, it's the second
Then I
Wednesday in
won't have to
August.
vote in front of the person who gets on.
Well, no, this is for our quarterly.
Oh, okay.
Right now,
Okay,
this is for our
quarterly.
quarterly.
Okay.
Let's get the easy meeting scheduled first.
14th is okay with me.
Nobody has a conflict that you're aware of at this point
I do, but
for the 14th?
that's
I
just one.
prefer it was the 7th, but it doesn't matter, I don't have to be there, I'll have Susan be there.
So you're going to go to your wedding or
I
anniversary?
have a conflict of both.
I'm sorry, you were saying
So both work.
both work. All right,
Eeny, meeny.
yeah, eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
What's your budget?
This is where I make the hard decision and
It's
say,
possible my conflict on the 14th will not be, will no
will
longer be-
resolve itself?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
There's another reason.
Let's go with the 14th?
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
It might help me resolve the conflict.
Oh, one of those,
Oh, I've got another
okay.
meeting. I can't possibly.
It is.
It is.
Yeah, because the
Okay,
budget committee
so that's
can
for our quarterly.
Sorry,
We'll
same
do
time,
the
7 o'clock.
same time, 7 o'clock, yeah. We always start meetings at 7, give or take a couple of minutes, unless it's something special during the budget public hearing stuff in January. All right, so let's backtrack. It is currently April. Do we want to try and do something near the end of May or go closer to the middle of June? Remember, we're not having another meeting after this until August. There'll be sufficient time for whomever the individual we appoint is to be sworn in, get materials or whatever. Suggestions?
Middle of June.
Fine.
The 12th.
What about April 30th? 2 weeks from tonight.
Does that allow the time?
There's nobody here because it's
The end of the month.
April.
this Tuesday.
Well, if people
Oh,
really
selectmen
want,
meeting on April 30th.
Oh, are you?
They
Oh, that's
postponed the
right,
meeting
too.
and then.
That's right, too. For the school vacation week,
I think school.
Right.
Well, then school vacation week is open if anybody can do that one.
School, just to clarify, I'm pretty, I'm pretty sure school
15th.
vacation week is the week before that, actually. They're back in
Yes.
on the 29th. So, just to be clear.
All right, so we've had a suggestion of May 15th, which is a Wednesday.
Wouldn't be my first choice.
I'm sorry?
My birthday, so it wouldn't be my first choice.
Oh, I can't tell you how many meetings I have attended on my birthday or my anniversary or
Tisk.
my husband just figures that I'm not gonna be around and that's okay. He's got the dog.
That I will note, and this is personally important to me, but maybe to no one else here, and that is that the Northwood Democrats traditionally have met on the third Wednesday of the month.
how about the 22nd?
We're looking at strictly Wednesdays right now.
Well, only because very few other groups seem to want them
I
all
like
on
it. We always
Wednesdays.
kind of know we're gonna have
Well,
Wednesday meeting.
why not the 8th or the...
May 22nd works for me.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Any conflicts for May 22nd? So you can have your birthday?
Well, it's a milestone.
Then you definitely need your
Another
birthday.
year.
See, I've
The
stopped counting.
Medicare ones.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't count that anymore. No, if it's a, let people wonder if I've
We'll
hit my
send you the bill,
milestones
don't
yet.
worry. What time
I
is
already
it?
have,
7 o'clock as
just
well?
for the wrong amount.
Yeah.
Yes.
22nd of May?
Okay.
All right, so that's the date that we will have the short meeting. We'll deal with the minutes from tonight's meeting. We'll address those. And in the meantime, Lynn and I will get some research done. Tom, if he can help out as well, to figure out what we can't do in choosing someone. And maybe we have options for how we can do. Yeah. I'd want to be open to the public and above board, but I also don't like being put on a spot either. And I don't imagine too many other people would enjoy that as well, so.
Thinking of the 3 people that we're be voting on too.
Exactly.
That's the other side of it, so.
Exactly. Which is why I was sort of asking if we could ask them to go and wait in the hall with the door closed. We're still in public session. The tape is still rolling.
We're doing the public's business.
Okay. Such a sport.
I mean, it is what it is. We need to make a
It's
vote.
like
Make that
elementary
decision.
school when
Exactly,
people want like
exactly.
Something wrong with that.
And then
Okay.
they can watch it afterwards anyway.
Anyway.
True, it's just that, yeah,
Make
I
their
get it.
checklist of who's like getting
Yeah,
off.
Dave Bynum, great guy. He's a-
There you go, there you go. He's gonna find a place to go.
Speak to me again, again. Maybe that's
Okay,
a blessing.
so, we're looking at 22nd of May, 7 o'clock. We'll address the minutes from tonight, as well as the vacancy.
And I will make the copies of the books, and we can just hand them out rather than mail them?
Save us postage, absolutely. Brad?
Will we, in the mail, I assume you're going to be mailing the minutes out prior to the meeting. Will the candidates, be any information on the candidates in that mailing?
I was thinking about that. I think that might be a good idea to send,
If nothing more than just their names, just so we know who's coming.
Good letters.
If they're right.
I rely on Linda a great deal because of her long experience with all these boards and whatever. Can you think of a reason why we could not receive copies of the intent letters along with our,
No, I do not, as long as we have a cutoff date prior to that.
which we've got enough time
And
to
if
be
you
able to
want,
do
we
that?
have 3 people that seem very seriously interested. If you want to see if there's more interest out there, we can put it on the website or in the forum or whatever you'd like, or just, it's up to you.
I think we have plenty of
Yeah,
interest.
3's good.
I mean, that doesn't seem necessary. You've already got 3 for
We've
one
got
position.
3, it's not like we
It's
were
pretty
begging
good
for
odds that
people
we're going to fill it.
before.
So,
Yeah, on the other hand, though, I think anybody that might be interested should know,
Yeah.
should be aware. So I think it does no harm to post it in the forum or post it on the
We
website.
could certainly post it in the forum and wherever, indicating that
We have a town website?
we will, I believe so.
With all the movement.
With
that-
everything that I look for on it, it's not there, but we do have one.
With all the movement that occurred with the write-ins and people selecting and things like that, there are some people that were left out that might not be aware too, that at least
That
putting
A,
it out
there's
there,
an
giving the
opening.
opportunity.
Right.
Yeah.
Or maybe they feel like they dodged a bullet.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. Okay, so if we're going to be meeting on the 22nd, I would say a deadline of May 3rd, Friday, May 3rd. If we can get that onto the forum in the next few days, that would be 2 weeks' notice on the forum, and believe me, I get calls all the time. Did you see what's in the forum today? So even though I don't happen to look at it on a regular basis, for anyone who's interested, to submit a letter of interest, and that would still allow Town Hall enough time to be able to make copies to send out to us with the minutes. Sound okay? I'm looking for consensus,
Yes.
guys, because I don't want to
Sure.
be making these decisions on my
we're all
own.
nodding.
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
Well, I'm just getting these.
Unless it
stony-
doesn't work, and then.
I'm just
Whatever,
getting these
whatever.
stony looks. Really? You know.
Yeah, that's good.
So, okay, so we'll go with that. And so since we got onto that, I thought we were no, we did the minutes, the meetings, reminders. Does anybody have any questions before one of 3 people pipes up about adjourning? Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Well, 2 out of the 3 got right in there that I was thinking of. So. Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You can stay.